Okay, meeting started.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so I call this meeting of the Lake Country Classical Academy Board of Directors to order at 6:02 on Wednesday, November 20th. With respect to, and in accordance with Wisconsin's open meetings law, the required public notice of the meeting ran in the Saturday, November 16th issue of the Waukesha Freeman was posted on our website and at the front entry doors of both school campuses. The LCCA mission is to train the minds and improve the hearts of young people through a content-rich classical education in the liberal arts and sciences with instruction in the principles of moral character and civic virtue. With that, I will go to attendance. And unless Skylar has joined us, all current board members are in attendance except for Skylar. I'm on the board doc, so can anybody confirm, is Skylar on yet?
Don't see him.
Okay. Lump of coal for Skylar. No, he should be joining us. I think he's good to go for tonight's meeting, so we should see him soon. So I'm going to move now to agenda and minutes. Is there any objection to today's agenda or the minutes from the October 2nd and October 16th meetings? Any objection?
No objections.
No objections. Since there are no objections, the agenda is approved. With that, I will move to board president report. I just have two things. One, we are meeting virtually today, and we received an email inquiry about why we're meeting virtual today. We have a lot of board business that we need to focus on today. And I want to remind everybody that the purpose of these meetings is so the board can conduct governance issues and conduct its business. And we have a very engaged parent community, which is awesome. And we receive so much positive feedback and ideas from our parents. And in fact, one of our parents sent an email that ended up being an agenda item that we will discuss later tonight. But in the last couple of meetings, we just want to make sure that we stay focused on board business and that any feedback for the board, and we want feedback, that it's done in a respectful manner. And we have kind of run afoul of that in a couple of recent meetings. And so we're taking this opportunity. We really need to get through a lot tonight and maybe do a reset in January. Again, we want feedback. There's been a lot of great feedback, but we need it to be respectful. I think there was, for example, name calling at the last meeting, and those are things that are disruptive and, you know, potentially take us off our mission, which is to stay focused on board business. So that is the reason we are virtual today. And the other thing that I wanted to mention, and I don't know if everybody saw the October 31st announcement from the school having to do with formal Fridays. But I want to call this out because I read this and I just thought to myself, wow, like this is the kind of school that everybody on this call and everybody who's at the school, this is the kind of school we want to be a part of. And it talked about, you know, our dress code and why that's important. And I just want to take just 30 seconds and I want to read two excerpts from it that struck me as just particularly great examples of leadership by our head principal and the team. So quoting from this, there's nothing inherently virtuous about khaki pants or plaid skirts, but in choosing to meet the expectations of the uniform policy, LCCA students are practicing virtues like self-discipline, respect, and a reverence for the work of learning that takes place here. And towards the end, there's another sentence that just really struck me. To our students, we urge you to be faithful in the small things, the details of socks and hair and ties and what to wear on Friday, so that one day you will be faithful in the great things. I can think of no better way to kick off this meeting than to kind of cite that reference to our mission and to the types of young adults that we are instructing and that we are essentially forming for the world and the challenges they have ahead. I was just really proud when I read that, and I'm sure many of you read it as well. And I just wanted to kind of cite it as just one of the many examples of what sets this school apart and makes this school so special. With that, on our agenda, we've got our head principal report. So Margaret, you want to take it?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I first want to draw your attention to the change in format of my leadership report this month, and I welcome and invite you to email me directly with any feedback that you might have as I'm working to make my reports efficient, easy for you to read and digest, and also potentially be able have a more friendly format for projecting when we meet again in person. But let me begin with the first slide of positive highlights. These are some of the topics that just recur on a monthly basis in my reports to you. This past month, we kicked off our Celebrate a Senior program. We had all the seniors attend an assembly at the East Campus. They were buddied up with an elementary grade level. They spent time in the classroom with their grade level buddies, reading stories and sharing all about me posters. And then just tonight, the elementary teachers put high five hands all over the senior lockers. You're getting a sneak peek to social media posts for tomorrow will be pictures of high five hands from elementary students all over the senior lockers. And I think the seniors will be really surprised and enjoy all these encouraging messages from elementary students that have been slapped on their lockers for them to enjoy tomorrow. We had our fall R&R break, which certainly is part of our culture. We work while we work and play while we play, and also value rest and relaxation. There was a silly sock day within the last month, one of the incentive rewards through the Fun Run, Color Run experience. We closed out Q1 with report cards, and the Phoenix House in the upper school hosted the high school fall ball. So the first student run fall ball was a huge success, and we're looking forward to continuing that tradition for many years to come. A special event in the last month was our Veterans Day assemblies. We welcomed many guests at the East Campus for assembly, and our 4th through 6th grade students sang the different armed services songs, and we recognized veterans of each armed service. And at the upper school, we had our very own Mr. Peter Knapp, our facilities manager, who is also an Army veteran, speak to the students, and he gave a very inspiring speech about commitment and endurance and perseverance. Last month, you heard me share our exciting news about our athletics program becoming a member of the WIA next year. And toward that end, we have kicked off the basketball season for both the girls and the boys, and we have the schedule set for the season and are continuing to promote our successful program and looking forward to participating in a conference next year. Moving on to the next page, I have a few monthly updates, the typical topics that I share with you on a monthly basis. As far as faculty and staff goes, I did hire on an additional instructional assistant at our East Campus, and we continue to look for a facilities assistant to help Mr. Knapp in that department. We're hoping to find someone who can serve as an accounting clerk and also a human resources assistant. In the realm of safety, we have our conducted fire and tornado drills as required by the state successfully at both campuses over the last month. We have not had any significant discipline issues to note in the last month at either campus, and our Hillsdale relationship remains strong. Our teachers are attending the opportunities that the K-12 teacher support team offers on a monthly basis. And as you recall, I went to St. Louis a few weeks ago, and I was the speaker at the Hoagland Center for Teacher Excellence event that they hosted there. The next set of information for your review is the culmination information about our state standardized tests from the previous school year. Also worthy of note, the state report card went public yesterday, and our standardized test scores are a component of the data that equates to our ranking with the Department of Public Instruction. And I am very proud to share that we are a 4-star exceeds expectations school for the 2nd year in a row. And that score, as I said, is determined largely in part by our standardized test scores. So looking at the first chart, you'll notice that the forward exam administered to 3rd through 8th grade and 10th grade students, the scores show that we are right on par with the Waukesha County average of kindergarten through 12th grade students, and we certainly exceed the statewide averages. It's important to note that I did not include any previous scores for comparison because the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction updated, edited, and revised the forward exam for the 23-24 school year. And the revisions to the test content and the test style, as well as the changes to the achievement calculations, make it impossible to compare the 23-24 test results to any prior statistics. So we begin again with this new format, and can look to the test results of this school year and compare to the last school year, but comparing previous to that would be ineffective. The next chart is the test results of the pre-ACT secure test, which is administered to 9th and 10th grade students. And you will see the 22-23 results here, as well as the 23-24 results. And across the board, the 23-24 results are improved for the Waukesha County average, our own LCCA average, and the statewide average. But I do want to draw your attention to our significant improvement in 22 and 23. Our math percentage of students scoring proficient or advanced was 58%, and our English language arts percentage was about 61%. And last year in the 23-24 school year, we had about 88% of students scoring proficient and advanced in the math area, and close to 84% of students scoring proficient or advanced in the ELA or English language arts area. And comparatively to the Waukesha County average, they had 69% in math and 66% in English language arts. So we're very proud of the results here by our 9th and 10th grade students last year on the pre-ACT secure. Looking at the next chart, this is the combined data. So the forward exam as well as the pre-ACT secure exam combined, because this is the data that we submit to our authorizer. And this information shows that we are almost exactly on par with K-12 districts in Waukesha County. So 68% in English and language arts for Waukesha County as well as LCCA, and 73% in math for Waukesha County as well as LCCA. And both of those numbers far exceed statewide averages. So that information will be included in our authorizer's annual report they submit to the Department of Public Instruction. The authorizer will submit that report in December before the deadline. And this is the data that will be included to show that we met the benchmarks and performance measures set for us by the Waukesha County Executor. The next slide and chart are internal LCCA standardized test results. So every year we do administer a standardized test called FastBridge to our elementary aged students. And we do that to simply give ourselves some internal data for tracking, as well as to help us see and understand students that might need extra support. We have some benchmarks that we use to make decisions in that regard for RTI and special support. But you can compare our 2022 scores to 2023 as well as fall of 2024, and we hover in the 89 to about 93% range, where students are scoring above the 30th percentile, and that's a national normed ranking. That's the conclusion of the standardized test results for the previous school year. So I'll move into the financials. You've had some opportunity to look through the income statement, the budget versus actual report, and the bank reconciliation report. And I'll just draw your attention to a few things. In the income statement, the majority of revenue received in October was the interest earned on investments, as well as some student fees. Expenditures consisted of the quarterly insurance premium, textbook expenses, and on-campus costs. In the bank reconciliation report, you'll notice that the October bank statement for the checking account is reconciled to the ending balance of $210,583.95. The money market account reconciles to an ending balance of about $1.1 million, and the Edward Jones account is reconciled to the ending balance of about $771,000. Total cash on hand currently is $2,237,765.07. And last year at this same time, cash on hand was closer to 1.4 million. So we have about a $768,000 increase in cash on hand this year as compared to last year at this time. That equates to about 108 days cash on hand. And I'm sure audience as well as board members recognize that we do focus quite a bit on cash on hand. And the significance of that information is financial stability of institution. So while we are looking to make sure we're running all operations efficiently and effectively, we're also looking to make sure that our financial resources and reserves are sufficient to sustain us for things that crop up or situations that might arise. If you look at the budget versus actual report, you'll notice that revenue is on track with budgeted amounts. There's a couple nuances I'd like to draw your attention to as we still look for those positions that I mentioned earlier, the HR assistant, the accounting clerk, as well as a facilities assistant. Our salaries budget is coming in at about 22% of the budgeted amount, and we are 33% of the way through the school year. So the discrepancy there is those 3 positions that we have yet to fill and therefore aren't paying salaries for. The other line item to notice is 470 textbooks. Our expenses are higher because we did spend to replace some textbooks this year. They were well loved by former students in the first 3 years. So we have replaced those textbooks and are waiting for reimbursement through the charter waiver grant. Also, line item 682 is the temporary note, just shows that interest is over budget due to the payoff of the loan. So closing out the loan and reconciling all of the interest and year-end balances of that came in a little higher than anticipated. That concludes my financial report and also my report for the month. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Margaret. Do board members have any questions?
I had a couple of questions. So first of all, I love the new format. It's great. It seems easier for you to prepare and also easier to read and follow. So thank you for those changes. One question, I had a couple on the numbers, but just one bigger picture question. I know we used to have enrollment numbers in the report. And I know we've started a new school year and I'm assuming they haven't changed much, but is that something we plan on putting in there or at least putting in there periodically?
We do have enrollment numbers scheduled out on specific months on the board calendar. This was not a month that included an enrollment update because the really big enrollment information, as you recall, was all presented in October, but it does recur again sporadically throughout the rest of the school year to keep you up to date. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And then I had a couple questions on the numbers and just going back to the percent where we're at of budget. On the let me just, I'm scrolling through. So on the revenue side, so it'd be line revenue or account number 291, the gifts fundraising contributions. I know we had upped the budget on that this year. Our current year activity is relatively flat. So, you know, basically zero. And then last year, I know we were at 25% of a lower budget number. So I was wondering what the reasoning for that was.
I'm going to have to look into that for you, Randy, and get back to you if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other item on the expense side was line item 327, the construction services. I know we had a lot going on there, but we're at 84% of budget. I was wondering if you have some comments on that.
We have paid a lot of one campus invoices recently. And then we've just had some maintenance and facilities updates that we've paid out. And to get more specific than that, I will touch base with my business controller and get back to you.
I guess I know we had a lot going on. I guess my main thing was, is that something that was front end loaded here, or is that something that we're likely to go over budget on, or is that hard to say without looking into it further?
As of right now, we do not have concern of going over budget. But being unable to foresee the future and what our one campus pursuit might unravel for us or how that unfolds is a little bit more difficult to predict.
Okay, no, I
But we
understand
do not
that.
have concern at this time.
Okay,
on that
that was
item.
the main reason for my question,
Yeah.
Margaret, was just to see if this is something we're 84%, 33% in. Is this something we anticipate going over? And I understand there's things that could come up that we don't know about yet that may change that, but
Right,
that's what I was looking for on that one.
great.
Great, thank you.
Margaret, could you just remind me with the Fast Bridge standardized test, what grades take that?
All elementary grades.
All elementary. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Margaret, I appreciate with respect to the standardized test. Oh, and this new format with respect is 1,000% better. I love it.
Great.
Like,
Thank
I
you.
love it. I appreciate, and this came up during our offsite over the summer, I appreciate you noting when you're not doing year-over-year comparisons, why and what the rationale is. And I know we talked about it's easier, and I don't want to speak for the whole board, but it's easier for me when I see numbers, whether it's enrollment or whatever, just seeing here's what the KPI is, here's what we did year before. Because in my mind, I'm just like, are we on a good trajectory? Are we on a bad trajectory? Are we kind of middling? And so I appreciate that context there. Do
Great.
any other
Happy to
board
do so.
members have any questions or comments?
I do, really quickly. I also agree. I love the format. I think it's very clean and easy to follow, and I think will be great for future board meetings when people are attending and wanting to follow along. I think that's great. And just to clarify, Randy, your question was a good one about why enrollment numbers weren't in this. And that's exactly right what Margaret said in terms of we have this board planning calendar that is we update every year in July. And that board planning calendar lists by month what needs to be addressed or what we need to be monitoring and what's expected to be seen either in Margaret's report or it might be, we also use it in developing the agenda for each meeting. So we know what things we need to be looking at by month. That board planning calendar was developed. It was a template we received from Hillsdale, which is a suggestion on what other schools in the network are doing and how often things are being monitored, et cetera. So that's what it's been based on, just so you're aware. And anyone has access to that. So it's in the share drive.
Great. No, that makes sense. And it helps us to focus on information and make sure we don't forget anything at the same time. So that's
Right.
great.
Right.
Any other comments or questions on Margaret's report? Okay. So with that, we have a very full new business track today. I think we got about 6 or 7 things on it. And I guess riffing off of what we just ended with, we have a request to approve the draft of the 2023-24 audited financial statements that we have. So would anybody like to make a motion to approve the draft of the audited financial statements that we received from our auditor CLA?
I'll make a motion to approve the draft of the 23-24 audited financial statements from CLA.
Thank you, Stacy. Anybody want a second?
Second.
Thank you. So it's moved and seconded to approve this draft. Is there any debate, any questions, any comments?
I have a few comments, questions on it.
Go for it.
So a couple things, and these maybe more questions for what the auditor did, but like for example, on page 20, if I go to page 30, it's the report on internal control from the auditor. It says, during our audit, we did not identify any deficiencies in internal control over compliance that we consider to be material weaknesses as defined above, which material weaknesses were the more significant weaknesses category. But yet when I go to the next page 31, where it's summary of auditor results, question 2A is material weaknesses identified, and they have yes. So it seemed to me to be a contradiction in what they said, unless I misread it or they're talking about something else here. So I don't know if Lori or Margaret, if you have any insight on that, or if that's a question for the auditors.
Lori, do you have anything you want to speak to on that question?
Yeah, I would recommend reaching out to Steve Johnson. I think I sent you his email. And he might be able to explain it better than I can.
Okay,
May I
understand.
jump in?
Yeah, go
Randy,
ahead.
can I
No.
Sorry,
I had one
sorry.
other thing, but go ahead.
So, why don't you go? I want to go back to this though. Should I do it now or do you want to keep going?
One other question on the report, if you want me to finish that and then jump
Go
back
for it,
in.
please.
Okay. So the other thing I was looking at on the report, and I was going back to that summary and financial statement findings. So right beneath that chart, like page 31, it talks about inadequate controls to ensure proper recording of LCA's financial reporting, and then said that the auditors made some adjustments to the financial statements, otherwise they would have been materially misstated. Then the second comment kind of talks about something related and said the financial statement should be prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And then says LCCA staff does not have the necessary resources to properly apply US GAAP in the preparation of these documents. Then when they say their recommendations below, auditors' recommendations, they say we recommend LCCA continue to assign a staff member to review the financial statements. So to me, if we don't have the expertise, we hired them or asked them to make the adjustments because we don't have the expertise. And then their recommendation is that we assign a staff member to review the financial statements. I didn't get that because it sounds like if that was a weakness, we addressed it by hiring them to do it. And if we don't know how to do it and rely on them, why are we reviewing their work?
So, Steve Johnson will be able to explain this for you, but what has been explained to me is that the schools typically won't have the resources to hire a full-blown, like a CPA firm to handle everything. And so pretty much the majority of institutions will have this on their audit. It's just gonna always show up because you just can't afford to have a CPA firm doing the whole piece, but I would ask for his explanation. And we also, in the years past, have had it explained from our auditor, Riley, Penner, and Benton, and it's the same response. So that's
Okay.
going to show up every year.
Okay, so just standard language then.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that we don't have the expertise and we rely on them. It just seemed to me that, their recommendation is that we have a staff member review the financial statements, when above it says we hire them because we don't have the expertise. So
Yeah.
I can ask him about it, but yeah, if that's standard language, I thought it might be a standard thing they need to report. but I guess that was the nature of my question. It didn't seem like, it seemed like we addressed it by hiring them to do it.
Yeah.
So I get that part of it. And then the last thing I just had was, it talked about a corrective action plan attached. Is that somewhere else? I didn't see it here.
We can ask him for it. It should have been in there, or it'll be in the management. The rep letter that will come out.
Okay.
So
All right.
I can have him send that.
Okay, I can ask him too. If I'm gonna call him and ask him a question anyway, I
Yeah.
can just ask him that at that time then.
Yep.
Okay, that's what I had, Tom. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to add, I did have a meeting with Steve Johnson and I had the exact same concerns. So I read through this and I know that people on this call have heard me joke before. I'm not a finance guy. So I went through this and I got to the end and I thought, well, wait, if there's irregularities or if there's a contradiction here. And I know you and I didn't talk about this, but I went to the same place. So I actually talked to him at length about this, and I'm reading from my notes. He said that we've got kind of two areas that we're focused on: audit adjustments. So something was missed or maybe not accounted for in the right line item or anything, accounted for properly. And he said that's something that is not, it doesn't concern him, and that it's something that he sees in almost every one of these that he does. And then the other bucket is financial statement preparation. And we talked about that a little bit too. To riff off of what Lori was saying, he said, we work with lots of organizations like LCCA. He categorizes them as nonprofits, and they all have the same issues, and especially the smaller ones. And he considers LCCA to be a smaller one. And I'm reading from my notes here. He said, the way you get, and I'm paraphrasing, but the way you get a clean bill of health on this is if you have a CFO and a controller and a whole accounting staff and people who are experts on audit law and things like that. And he said, all of this is stuff. I said, is this DEF CON stuff or is this stuff you normally see? He's like, absolutely not. He extolled Margaret and Lori and said that they were great to work with. And, any due difference he had, they were like, yep, we'll make these. This is great. He said, and I'm quoting here, they're super responsive and they want to learn and they want to, and this is a paraphrase, they want to lock this stuff down. So, I asked him point blank, do you have any concerns about LCCA from this perspective? And he said, absolutely not. This is the same stuff that we see with other small organizations. So, I think by virtue of this, I mean, we're taking it seriously. We have to stay on it, but we know that Margaret and Lori are as well. I'm happy. You send me a text. I'm happy to connect you with him if you want to talk to him too. But again, we spoke at length about this, and he was very generous in his praise of our team, but said, yeah, there's some due difference, but it's typically what we see with very short-staffed organizations.
Did he address that first question I asked Tom about where it's material weakness identified? Yes. And then it said there's not a material weakness above?
I did not ask him that specifically, no.
Okay. All right. And just to make clear, Lori and Margaret, that I was not in any way questioning anything you did. I was more questioning how they reported it.
I didn't interpret your comments that way at all. I'm just sharing what my tack was with him and what he said.
I just wanted to make sure that Lori knew that. So.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Thanks,
And
Randy.
then Randy, if you can let me know when you talk to him and you get an answer on that, and if they will need to make an adjustment with changing the language so it is consistent throughout, if that's the case.
Okay, I will check with him on that specific question.
Yeah, thank you.
Do any other board members have questions or comments? So this is a draft, correct, Margaret?
Yes.
So then with us voting on this, if this passes, then does this become final, or is there another iteration of it?
No, I believe they then finalize it and send it for your signature.
Okay. So last call for questions and commentary on this. Anybody? Okay, so the question is whether or not to approve the draft of the 23-24 audited financial statements from CLA. Those in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed, say nay.
I mean, I approve it. I wanted one question, but I said we just approve it and just get that fixed, whatever the answer is on that or an explanation on that. Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think so. I think so. And there is a possibility that the ambiguity is theirs. So it'll be interesting on what you find out.
Yeah. Okay. Then I'm an aye too.
All right, the ayes have it, and the motion is carried. The next piece of business on our agenda is the Hillsdale College Member School Agreement. So just to kind of frame this up, I received this after our board meeting, so it was too late to get on the agenda for that. But as everybody knows, we are a Hillsdale member school, which is spectacular. And they sent us an agreement that they're asking me to sign as president of the board. And it's, if you look at page 4 of the agreement, the term of this, the agreement shall commence on the effective date, which they have back in October, and will extend for 5 calendar years from June 30th of the calendar year of the effective date. So doing the math, 2029. So this is Hillsdale saying, we approve of you as a member school and we want to extend your term 5 years. That's the setup for it. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the Hillsdale College Member School Agreement from 24 to 29?
Motion to approve.
Anybody want to second it?
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve. Is there any debate or discussion or questions for me?
I just have one quick comment. On this contract, the reason the dates are kind of a little bit wonky where it's, they're trying to get, the Hillsdale's trying to get all of the contracts for its member schools all like in the same time. So they all expire at the same time. Right now they're kind of all over the place and it's hard to track. So that's why they are, it's been dated this way where it's actually backing up from June of this year and then expires in 2029, if that makes sense to everybody.
Makes sense to me.
Okay. And the other thing, I'm going to be abstaining from voting on this because it could be seen as a conflict of interest because I work for Hillsdale College.
Any other questions or discussion on this agenda item? Okay, so the question before the board is whether or not to approve the 2024 through 29 Hillsdale College Member School Agreement. Those in favor of this motion, please say aye.
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 Anybody opposed, say nay. Okay, the ayes have it. The motion is carried. And just so the board and all of our stakeholders know, I will be signing this agreement and then sending it back to them tomorrow morning. Okay, the third item on our agenda tonight is a request for approval to hire a capital campaign consultant contract. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve a contract with a capital campaign consultant?
I'll make a motion to approve hiring on a capital campaign consultant.
Anybody want to second that motion?
I will second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any questions we have of Margaret, or Margaret, would you like to set this up for us?
I would like to give you the context that as we continue to pursue one campus opportunities and continue forward with the vision of consolidating our 2 campuses into one as soon as possible, the need for financial support is significant. And in order to make the most of and raise the most funds possible, I would like the support of someone with experience and expertise in that field. So as I do not have this necessarily in a budgeted line item, I'm requesting permission to pursue hiring a consultant, and I anticipate the cost within this fiscal year being around $15,000.
Okay.
So just to be clear, Margaret, between now and June 30th?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Between yes, anticipated, depending on, of course, when I would hire on and get that started, but the projected cost to LCCA would be $15,000, eventually recouped via the campaign. But that's an budget item that I do not currently have in expenses. So I'm asking for your permission to move forward with hiring that on as a one campus expense.
Okay. Margaret, I don't have any experience with like this. Is it just a flat fee or is there some sort of percentage of contributions collected or something along, or is it just a pure flat fee for consulting regardless of results?
This is a flat fee for consulting, and this consultant will build us toward finding a campaign management firm that would actually run and facilitate that campaign. This is more of an advisor, a consultant to guide me and my team in pursuit of designing a capital campaign.
Okay. And how did we locate this consultant?
I'm using our owner's rep advice and recommendations. So if you remember Andy Ream from Building Solutions, who is hired on as our owner's rep in this project, he is vetting and making suggestions, and then I am interviewing and following through.
Great, thank you.
Do other board members have questions or comments on this agenda item?
No, I'm glad that, Margaret, that you're bringing somebody on. I think this is incredibly important as we look to consolidate and build our one campus or renovate or whatever we end up doing. And since our board doesn't have that level of expertise within the board, and it's very difficult to find someone like this, I think hiring a professional is extremely important and a prudent decision.
I echo Christina's comments, and I assume you've already vetted this person for any conflicts of interest?
Yes.
Yeah, and the board has heard me say this perhaps ad nauseum. I believe that this school should always be in a capital campaign. We're really focused on one campus, and that's great, but I think we should continue. We have continual needs. And so to really create this infrastructure, I would encourage you, pending an approval here, to think about and to challenge this consultant. What does a long-term infrastructure look like? That, one campus is right in front of us, and that's super important, but how do we extend this? And how do we, again, create an infrastructure that's going to last, for the foreseeable future? Any other comments? All right, the question is whether or not to improve this request from Margaret, and I assume this would mean you'd add a budget line item.
I need to coordinate with Lori to determine which fund number it would pull from. But as I said, it's not, oh, go ahead, Lori.
I can speak to that. Most likely we would increase the budget amount under code 310, which is purchase services.
Okay. Okay, so the question is to whether or not to approve hiring a contractor as a capital campaign consultant. Those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Okay. Anybody opposed? Nay? Okay, the ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Congratulations on that. All right, so now we have the subject of new board members. So we've put the word out over the last several months, and a handful of people reached out to us, and the board has spent the last several weeks kind of meeting with them and vetting with them, and now is the time. So we have three potential member appointments for tonight. And so I'm going to start with the first one. Ellen Nowak, would anyone like to make a motion to approve the appointment of Ellen to the LCCA board?
A motion to approve Ellen Nowak to the board.
Anybody second?
Seconded.
Okay, it's moved and seconded to appoint Ellen. Is there any debate or discussion on Ellen? I can give you a little bit of her background, and for those other people on the call and those who look at this in the future who watch the playback, a very impressive candidate for our board, very well networked, a lot of experience in both the public and the private sector. She went to Marquette Law School as an attorney, so would bring great legal acumen to us. A salient paragraph in her letter to the board, I will read. I firmly believe that every parent should have the option to send their child to the school of their choice, regardless of income, zip code, or socioeconomic status. When I was legal counsel and chief of staff to the Speaker of the Wisconsin Assembly, I became aware of the Wisconsin School Choice Program. In fact, after I left that job, I went on to become the Deputy Director of School Choice Wisconsin to help advocate for choice in charter schools in the Wisconsin legislature. Her background, and I know you've all seen her resume, it kind of speaks for itself. So that's just the setup. Does anybody have any questions or comments on Ellen as a candidate?
After meeting with Ellen, I thought it was really great to see the strategic planning that she has in place. I think that's something we need to do as a board, start looking to the future of LCCA, and just her experience, I think, will bring a lot to the table for us.
Great.
I
Anybody
echo
else?
that. I was just going to say I echo what Stacy said and what you said, Tom. I think she's going to be an excellent addition and bring so many skills and experience to the team. So yeah, I think she's going to be wonderful.
Great. Anybody else? Okay. So the question in this part of our agenda today is whether or not to approve the appointment of Ellen Nowak to the LCCA board. Those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
I
Aye. Anybody opposed? Nay. Okay, the motion is carried. Ellen, I hope you're on the call. Welcome to the board. We have a second candidate for the board, Georgia Maxwell. And just a little bit of, well, actually, let's first, do we want to make a motion to approve Georgia to the LCCA board?
I'll
Motion
make a
to approve
motion.
Georgia.
Okay, Randy?
I'll second it.
Okay. It's moved and seconded to appoint Georgia. And just a little bit of background, Georgia additionally has just a ton of experience in business and government. She's done funding development and financial development. Her resume is also extremely decorated. Wisconsin Labor and Industry Review Commission, Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development. I had a chance to meet with Georgia too. We actually had a very good meeting. She is passionate about LCCA. She's passionate about what we're doing. We met and spoke for quite a while, and I believe that she is a tremendous candidate for us. Does anybody else speak with her, do some research, have commentary?
I also spoke with Georgia, and like you said, just her passion for education. I think her whole background with classical, the understanding of that to me was very impressive with everything. Also, just the idea of moving forward with our governance, with policy, I think should be a good addition with that.
Great. Anybody else?
Yeah, I agree. Georgia's going to be a wonderful addition as well. She's her experience, but also just she's got a lot of passion and drive and wants to learn and wants to really help us move forward. And she has a great passion for Hillsdale College and the work we're doing.
Okay. So the question is to approve the appointment of Georgia Maxwell to the LCCA board. Those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Nay? All right, the ayes have it. The motion's carried. Georgia, welcome to the LCCA Board of Directors. We have a third candidate, a current parent, John Wu, We'll move to him next. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the appointment of John to the LCCA board?
A
make a
motion to
motion.
approve.
Okay, Christina, motion.
Yeah. Mhm.
Anybody want a second?
I'll second it.
Great. It's been moved and seconded to appoint John Woo to the board. Is there any discussion? And I'll just open it up. He's got, we've been blessed. I mean, all three of our candidates just have great backgrounds, and John has a lot of experience and successful entrepreneurial experience in finance. He started his own shop. He went to MIT. He understands finance. He understands what to look for, what to be thinking about. He's very passionate about this school. I think I spent the most time with John. We got together and just kind of kept chatting about his family and his experience at LCCA. In his cover letter, I want to quote something from it. The foremost. Sorry. Actually, this won't make sense out of context, and I don't want to read 3 paragraphs of it. But he's suffice it to say, I was impressed with he already has a great connection with the school. He speaks very highly of our leadership, and the fact that the school's been working through a lot of stuff and evolving through a lot of stuff. And I think he has just a real good head on his shoulders, and I think he'd be a really good addition to the board. Anybody else want to share their experience with John or thoughts?
I guess I just had to say the same thing that you said. I had a conversation with him too, and I just thought his understanding of LCCA was really great, and he's excited to see the school move forward into the future.
And I'd just add to that, I have known John since the early days when we first started the school, and he's always been so incredibly supportive and very passionate about our mission, and really wants to ensure that our school continues to go down this path and keep us on track, true to mission. So I fully support his appointment.
Yeah, I met John actually at the gala. I sat at the table with him. I didn't know him, and I was talking to him and thinking he'd be a great board member. So I'm glad he's interested in joining. And I also think it's nice to have, since Christine will be rolling off, to have a parent on the board as well.
Yeah, I think that's very important too. Okay, so the question is to approve the appointment of John Woo to the LCCA Board of Directors. Those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed, nay? All right, the ayes have it and the motion's carried. Welcome, John. Welcome, Georgia. Welcome, Ellen, to the LCCA board. We will be in touch very soon, get you up on email, get you briefed, all that fun stuff. Okay, the second to last item on our agenda, and I mentioned this in my opening remarks, actually came from a parent. We received an email, I'm not sure if it came directly to me or to the whole board, about whether or not it would be possible to change the days that we meet. The argument or the rationale given was because a lot of our LCCA families have faith-based commitments on Wednesday and can't participate in meetings or can't come to meetings. And it was a very nice email. It was very respectful and very, a lot of the ideas that we've employed at LCCA have come from parents. And, I honestly, I kind of read that kind of thinking, I just always thought it was Wednesdays, but I thought there's no reason if a parent is bringing this up that we shouldn't discuss this. So, I'll open it up to the board. And Margaret, because this impacts you and your team, I would like you to also share your perspective on this. I wasn't around when Wednesday was picked, and I have to think it wasn't random. Is there a specific reason?
I can speak to that a little bit, and then maybe Margaret, you can chime in if I miss something. But I think a big part of it was because the staff had, I think they're very long days. Certain days are longer than others, and I think there's staff professional development maybe on Wednesdays. Margaret can clarify, but it just helps to keep make things easier for staff by having it on Wednesday evenings, but Margaret can clarify on that. The other thing I just want to mention is that regardless of what the board decides on this, because I won't be part of that decision, is that it's a good thing to continue to film or videotape these meetings and make them available for people who can't make the meetings, because it's always going to be, no matter what day you pick, it's, there's going to be people where they
Right.
can't make it. So I think, that's a really good solution for those who can't attend regardless of what day it is. So continue to do that.
Okay, anybody else want to weigh in?
I can clarify what Christina was mentioning. We do hold our faculty meetings every Wednesday, and the third Wednesday of the month, the same date as board meetings, is our full faculty meeting where we gather both East and West teachers together, and it lasts about an hour. And so administratively speaking, the leadership team appreciates the way the setup allows us to just have one longer day a month where we're at school for meetings much later into the evening than typically. I would also just stipulate and request that a change to board meeting days potentially be delayed until the summer, as the school calendar was designed for the full academic year with the understanding that board meetings were on Wednesday nights, so special events and things were scheduled on non-third Wednesdays of the month. So to change that may conflict with some predetermined, pre-scheduled things. But there's nothing to say that if it works better for board members to have board meetings on a different night of the week next school year, that we could adjust things for the staff as well. We are in the habit of the third Wednesday of the month being our longer day, but it's not necessarily an absolute need.
Any other board members have thoughts on this?
I guess my thought would be to keep it consistent for right now. Just personally for me, just having planned my schedule out a little bit based on knowing the third Wednesday is always going to be something that I am going to be around for and stuff like that. But definitely in the future, like Margaret had mentioned, if we want to change the date, that would be great. But just looking at the calendar and what's already out there, it would be easier to keep it where it's at right now for me.
Yeah, and I would just recommend, you got 3 new board members coming on. You guys can discuss this again, perhaps in the spring, and decide what makes the most sense for everybody.
I'm open to whatever the group decides, but I was thinking the same thing. We have three busy board members too that may have commitments too. So if we do it, we probably want to do it well in advance so people can clear their calendars.
Is the board in agreement that we stay consistent for this academic year? We address this in spring with our new board members. Do we agree on those two things?
I definitely think that makes the most sense. To do it that way just because of calendars and new board members coming on.
So I'm with Randy and Stacy on this. I scheduled my year around Wednesdays, but if this is better for the LCCA community, if this is easier and it works for board members, that's absolutely a priority. Board members have to be able to do it. And it sounds like none of us have deal breaker days, although can we agree that 6 o'clock on Friday night won't be the day? Can we agree on that? Joking. But there are days, it really, I think we're looking at Mondays and Tuesdays, probably maybe Thursday. I'm trying to think, things get busier. And again, there was no alternative day suggested. And Christina's right. Whatever we pick, there are going to be people who are like, really? You moved it to that day? So we're not going to make everybody happy. So that's something that we need to be thinking about. But the fact that this is faith-based commitments that are important to some of our families who also want to be engaged in these meetings, that really resonated with me, and I'm open too. So why don't we make sure that we get this, on the agenda once we get into next year, into spring, and we make a decision on it. Does anybody have a thought? I mean, my gut is Thursdays are going to be problematic too. That Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are the better days. Is there any pseudo consensus on that?
Yeah, I guess earlier in the week would be better. I just think I'm in families with kids with sports and different things, their activities and stuff like that will come into play more towards the weekend.
Well, this is also where Margaret and her team can help us with what days of the week are less have less school related things going on. So yeah, there's some layers here, but I think what everybody listening and anybody who plays this back, we're open and we can think about this and take it up in the spring with our new board members.
Actually, Tom, the next school year calendar, I believe, I'm not looking at the board calendar, but I do think I seek approval on that in February.
Okay.
And I start designing that over the Christmas break. So maybe this could be a decision made in January so that when I
Okay.
map out the following school year, I have an understanding of when board meetings will fill the evenings for, and school events should not be scheduled.
Got it. So Stacy, help me remember. Let's make sure that this gets agended for January.
Put it on there.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that discussion. Any other comments before I move forward? Okay, great. So the only other thing I wanted to mention is that on December 30th, Christina Vorax is going to roll off this board. And since we don't have a meeting at least currently scheduled in December, this is her last board meeting. And I regret that circumstances kind of conspired to keep us online today because I wish we were in person. But I just wanted to say a couple things about Christina and what she's meant to me and what I believe she means to this school. So I think everybody on the board, none of us knew each other before we joined the board. And I was at a Hillsdale fundraiser and this woman kind of came up to me and said, "Hey, I hear you guys build websites. I'm starting a school." I had no idea who she was. And that was my introduction to Christina. And I remember thinking, and I'm not proud of this, thinking, okay, another project, because you don't know. And then she talked about her vision for this school with such grace and such vision. And I was just captivated. And I'm thinking to myself, the world, as she's talking to me real time, I'm thinking to myself, the world is full of people who complain, who say, I don't like this, and they complain and they take shots at other people and whatever. And here's a woman that's saying, I see an opportunity and I think we can really do this. And thus started, just very, very much serendipitous, this friendship between she and I. And I volunteered a little bit and she ended up recruiting me on the board. And I know that a lot of people, and I'm still learning, the number of parents and number of people who kind of came out of the woodwork to make this happen. So it was such a heavy lift. But Christina, this all started with you. Everything that we have right now is because you had this germ of an idea and you got Tony and your family to support you on it. And nobody, me included, is ever going to know the number of hits you took, the number of hours of sleep you lost trying to get this school off the ground. But I'm just here to say that I've been very inspired by you, and I'm so thankful for our friendship, and I'm thankful that I get to be just even a small part of this school. And I wish you could stay on. And I'm not surprised that Hillsdale snatched you up because you have this great legacy of marketing and public relations experience. And of course they snapped you up. And of course you have to roll off, and because that's the kind of person you are. But I love other board members to chime in here. I'm almost done. I'm going to miss you. I hope that you pop up in meetings once in a while. And I know that we'll get to do, a better, a more appropriate, thank you, bon voyage at some point. But for now, suffice it to say, just many, many, many thank yous for the vision and for your time and all of the sacrifice that you and your family have made, all the people you've inspired, all the lives, the hundreds of families, all the students who are being directly impacted because you didn't give up, because you had that discipline and that fortitude. It's something that I think we can all take something from, certainly something that's leavening my life that I can take something from. And I'm just really proud to know you. And I'm so very thankful that our paths crossed. And I can't thank you enough for what you've done bringing LCCA to life.
Wow. Thank you. I'm kind of glad this is virtual, or I might be really emotional right now, but I'm extremely humbled and honored to be able to be in this position of having, perhaps being the crazy one to come up with the idea that we could actually do this, but spearheading it. But there were so many people involved in getting this off the ground. I mean, every single person has had a role to play in getting LCCA where it is today, and I will be eternally grateful for everybody who's played a part. And I just quickly, and I don't want to keep you all very long, but I just want to say a special thanks to not only the board and everyone who's ever been on the board for their service and helping us stay true to our mission and volunteering your time and energy. I mean, it's so appreciated and so incredibly important in the success of an excellent school, is having that strong board and the relationship with the school leader. So thank you for that, and thank you for continuing to do the job that you're doing. And a special thanks to Margaret and her team and all the teachers and everyone who has brought this school up the ramp and made it excellent and what it is today. We wouldn't be here without with Margaret at the helm, and everyone is truly working on a daily basis. You are the heart of the school and making it happen for all these kids. So thank you. And also to the parents who have trusted in this vision and took the chance and the leap of faith and trying something new for their children. And there's so many supportive people out there that are so grateful for this experience. And I'm just grateful for them and for their ongoing support. And the students who are working extremely hard, especially those who came in high school and were kind of thrown in the deep end and had to figure it out, and are thriving. And I think the fruits of everyone's labors are starting to show. So thank you. And lastly, anyone out there who's donated to the school, I'm so grateful for that, and hope that people will continue to support the school as it needs it, especially as we're moving to our one campus home. So thank you for your kind words. And I'm definitely not going away completely. I will always be supporting LCCA and helping however I can in the background. So thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to add anything?
I think you said it all, Tom. So I second everything you said. And yeah, I just think the whole story of how you got this started, Christina, and I know you weren't alone, one of many, but the fact that you didn't give up and got this going just makes you one of the most inspirational women that I know. So thank you.
I just say ditto to everything that both Tom and Randy have said. It's been amazing, Christina, getting to know you and working alongside you, and appreciate everything you've done to help guide the school and all the kids for their futures and things like that. So thanks a lot, Christina.
Thank you, Randy and Stacy, for your kind words. Appreciate it. And Tom, especially you. Thanks for stepping up and doing this role. It's not easy. And you're fantastic, all of you.
Thank you. I'm hoping my final gift to you will be to get out of a meeting without you correcting that I'm saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. I'm hoping that I can run the table tonight.
You did it
today.
We're
not adjourned. We're not adjourned. We'll see.
Okay.
All right. So with that, we come to the end of our meeting, and I want to wish everybody, all board members, all our entire school community, a very happy and blessed Thanksgiving, Christmas, holiday season, and we will be in touch with you soon. Does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
But you want to second that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Meeting's adjourned. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Night.
Okay.
Good night.